Hey guys, David Putty here, back with another trade up guide. I apologize for my delay with posting any new content. My wife and I had recently had our first child, and that's been fairly time consuming to say the least. But I do have a lot of content planned and hope to be able to start posting on a more regular and consistent basis, and definitely appreciate all of the support and feedback I've got on previous videos I posted. In this video, I wanted to cover a topic I've gotten a few questions on here and there, and that's how to run progressive trade ups through a collection. Essentially starting at the bottom of a collection and trading up to one of the top tier items from that collection, spending as little as possible. The steps for these trades will be a lot different than your typical trade up when using an actively dropping case or collection. These older collection progression trade ups are low percentage, high reward trades that are a ton of fun to run. The general idea is that we're trading up for the expensive collection input skins, so after the first tier, each trade we're only paying for the filler skins. And that's how, with a little bit of luck, we can get high-end skins at really low cost. In this video, I'm going to briefly cover what makes these progressive trade setups different, helpful tools and resources I use to make the process easier, and then I'll walk through how to get started setting up your progressive trades and outlining your plan. I recently wanted to pick up a new A1-S play skin and decided I wanted to get the Blue Phosphor. So I figured I could run a progressive trade through the control collection so you guys could see an example of what the process actually looks like. Like I had just mentioned, the setup for these older collection trade-ups is going to be a lot different than your typical setup for a trade using an actively dropping case or collection. In a previous video, I mentioned a trick for quickly outlining trades is that the cost of an input skin from a collection is typically around 10% of the cost of an output skin from that same collection, meaning that if you use 10 skins from a single collection, you'd be roughly breaking even. Like with this covert danger zone trade-up, without the Steam tax, you're almost exactly breaking even. This is not the case with the older collections, where input skins can be 20, 30% or more of the cost of a potential output skin, which is why when you see these trades being run, usually only 1 or 2 skins from an older collection is used. With lower percentages, it's that much more important to plan and set up your progression. There are a few resources I use that make outlining everything a much easier process. With each trade you set up in your progression, you'll be weighing the cost of the trade versus the percentage chance to land the skin from the collection you're running your progression through. To ensure you're maximizing your odds and mitigating costs as much as possible, these are the tools and resources I use. The first resource is going to be a trade calculator. I'm sure this one is fairly obvious for anyone clicking on this video. They're going to be familiar with using a trade calculator. There are a lot of options out there, but my personal favorite is the one I've been using this video so far, and that's from TradeUpSpy. The second resource is going to be a filler skin resource, and this is going to be helpful to reference as you outline your trades and determine which collections you want to use in each of your trades to maximize your odds of getting a skin from the collection you want. This is once again from TradeUpSpy, and it's a really convenient resource to reference, but I do tend to use a spreadsheet I put together, and I'll show later and explain why when we're going through the setup process. The third resource is going to be a pricing resource, and the main reason for this is that with each trade tier, there's going to be multiple filler collection options you can use, and you'll want to check the cost of potential input skins. Some filler collections only have one possible outcome, which of course would maximize your odds of landing a skin from our desired collection. However, the cost of the input skins might be so high that it won't make sense to use. I tend to use csgostash.com, the site I'm on now, because of the accuracy of the skin prices due to how frequently it's updating. The last resource is going to be a skin wear limit resource. And once again, this is going to be important to ensure you're spending as little as possible on your trades. For example, every control collection skin had wear limits. And so I was able to use almost all field tested and minimal wear skins in my trade in order to end up with a factory new skin at the end. This is another spreadsheet resource I had made that's really convenient for seeing wear limits on every skin from a collection. With a few tools and resources to make this easier, it's time to start outlining our progression. The first step is obvious, and that's to decide what skin or collection we're trying to trade up for. Once again, for the example we'll be trying to trade up through the control collection to land ourselves a nice new Blue Phosphor M4A1-S. The next step is figuring out what class you want to begin your trade up progression from. In general, for any collection older than the most recent active collection, I'll start at the consumer level due to skin cost. In my case, since the control collection is still newer, I did start at the industrial class because the skin cost is low. There's not a specific formula or trick to determine which class to start at, it's really more so based on your budget. The main thing you have to keep in mind is that the lower the classes you're starting from, the lower your overall cost is going to be, but at the same time, your chances of making it through the progression decrease. After we identify our starting and ending spots, it's time to outline each of the tiers. Since I was going from industrial to classified, I'd have 3 tiers of trades to run. Tier 1 was going from industrial to mil-spec, Tier 2 going from mil-spec to restricted, and then Tier 3 going from restricted to classified. Knowing how many trade tiers we have to run through, we can start filling in some basic information for each of the tiers. This is the spreadsheet I use when setting these up, and I'll leave a link in the description of the video to make a copy of the spreadsheet for yourself in case anyone else finds this helpful. Fill in the input skin class and the output skin class first, and then using the skin collection resources sheet we were just taking a look at for our wear limit resource, we can easily grab the number of potential output skins from the collection we're trading up through, as well as see what the minimum average float of our trade would need to be to land factory new skins, minimal wear skins, etc. In our example, we can see that the M4A4 has the highest wear limit, so the minimum average trade float for a factory new skin from the collection will be a 0.1, and for minimal wear it would be 0.21. After filling in that information for each tier, the next step is to determine which filler collections to use for each of the trades. I typically use my skin collection breakdown sheet because I can quickly filter for the collections that have fewer outputs than the control collection for each tier. For our tier 1 trade going from industrial to mil-spec, since the control collection has 4 mil-spec skins, we can filter for the collections that have 1, 2, or 3 mil-spec skins in them. For my tier 1 trade, I decided to use the late collection, which has incredibly low cost inputs and 3 potential output skins. With my tier 1 trades, I prioritize low cost because this is the trade we'll need to run the most amount of times. Tier 2 was the easiest trade tier to decide on for a filler collection. I used the train collection, which has only 1 output option, and the input skins are also really low cost. A quick note in case it wasn't already obvious, the reason I have $0 for the control collection skin cost is because after tier 1, we're trading up for all of our control collection inputs, so we're only paying for the filler skins in each of the trades. Tier 3, on the other hand, was by far the most difficult choice to make for the filler collection. It was the ultimate decision on cost versus percentages, because I was originally planning to use the bank collection, which had only 1 output option and would maximize my chances of landing a control collection skin. However, the cheapest inputs would be around $4 each, so my trade cost would have been about $32. This would have more than doubled my entire trade progression cost. My other option was to use the 2018 Nuke collection, which would have given me worse odds due to having 2 classified skins in the 2018 Nuke collection, but the cost of my input skins would have only been around 75 cents each. So essentially I could spend $6 for 20% odds or $32 for 33% odds. I did end up going with the 2018 Nuke collection, and the only other step I had was to add in my target input floats for each of the trade tiers. And for that, I more or less just referenced the minimum float I'd need for minimal wear outputs. And with my trade tiers completely outlined, all that was left for me to do was to start running some trades. And there we have it. I ended up hitting the Blue Phosphor after only running 12 trades, and my total cost ended up being $31.84 to land a skin that's currently worth around 200 bucks. I certainly don't want to make this sound like it's some easy way to get high tier skins for super cheap. I did obviously get lucky in this progression, hitting on 75% of my trades when my odds were between 20 to 40% for each of the trade tiers. But with some planning, you can set yourself up as best as possible, and with a little bit of luck, you can land some really nice skins. I hope this guide helped to give a general overview on how to run these collection progression trades. They're a ton of fun, and I'd love to hear what you guys end up trying. As always, let me know if you have any questions or if there's anything I didn't explain well, but thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.